All right. Welcome to another episode of Can You Connect? And this is Mr. Walk That Walk. And today's episode, we are going to be discussing dating and being married to somebody who has hoarding disorder. And the first couple is going to be, most of the couples I went over were pretty older. I didn't really see any younger couples going through this, but they might have had some. This is all from the Hoarding show. So they had I think 11 plus seasons. I think they're still going on, I think. Maybe. I don't know for certain, but they might. You could definitely, the episodes I go over, you could definitely check them out. I think they're all on YouTube, or they might still be airing on television. I forget what channel was. A something? I don't know. But you can definitely check them out there. The first couple we're going to be going over is a older Caucasian couple. They are from the U.S. The husband name is Tim. And Tim often struggles with buying too many things. He has a shop in his plot of land to where it's almost 40 cars he's trying to fix, to the point where he's getting a bit overwhelmed with trying to keep up with all of them, trying to fix all of them. And to the point where at first it was just on the land, but now he started hoarding in the house a lot. And since he was hoarding in the house a lot, that kind of threw off the wife a bit, because now the house is real filthy and dirty, to the point where she decided to leave the house. And they had another house, which was 30 miles away, and she stayed there and would go visit him probably every weekend. But when she visited, it would just be more drama. Why? Because the house is still kind of messy. So, and it's getting messier, and then they're having arguments about the mess. And now she's just going back because she's, after argument, she's going back home. She's not spending no more time with him. So that kind of that's messing up their marriage and their connection. And she gave him the ultimatum about, if he he doesn't fix everything, she was going to leave him. And he also had another ultimatum coming from the fire marshal because it was so cluttered on the land. You know, they're worried about fires because the cars have oil in them and gas, and you know, they're worried about something bad happening because the land was covered with all these vehicles. Therefore, and they said if you don't clean this, you're going to have a $5,000 fine. So, of course, he agreed to get everything clean. So he doesn't have to get fined and he doesn't have to lose his wife. And the cleaning company comes to clean. It's a big group. They have a psychologist. They had an organizer. And they were going through stuff with him because they're not trying to throw anything away without his permission. And he was pretty on board. He was definitely willing. He wasn't really as combative. He was pretty chill about things. However, the wife wasn't as chill. She was still a bit combative towards him to the point where there was a pile they didn't get to yet for sorting, and then she's going over there and getting on him about, hey, we need to get rid of all this. And he was like, I didn't sort through these things to see what I wanted to keep or not. So that turned into a disagreement, and her family's over, and now her family's attacking him too. So there was a lot of pressure on him. You know, the psychologist was kind of on his side a bit because it kind of continued to the point where he was having a conversation with Tim was having a conversation with the psychologist and the organizer about getting rid of some of the things. Because he's like, man, I spent a lot of money on these things. And he kind of had a bit of an issue with it. And then they asked him, they was like, okay, so are these things worth your marriage being destroyed? And he said no, and he wants his marriage. However, the wife was there, and she kind of was still being a bit combative. And, you know, they asked her how she felt. She was like, oh, he hesitated. So she's kind of not giving him the benefit of doubt to the point where the psychologist and the other person kind of had to get on her about that. Because it seemed like it was kind of a bit deep-rooted, you know, maybe thinking he's not going to change or not improve, and then maybe her family being there and maybe instigating and making things a bit worse. So those are also things to keep in mind, that sometimes your family can make things, could cause more conflict and chaos rather than help the situation get better. You know. However, they was able to get everything clean and work on improving things. So I believe they might have stayed together. I'm not 100% sure if they stayed together afterwards, because they do the updates afterwards. Well, we're going to get to the next couple, which is this is another older Caucasian couple. They are also in the U.S. And this was the wife. So the wife struggled with the hoarding because she loved going shopping. She had a hard time letting things go. So since she had a hard time letting things go, she would continue buying things. And then she would look at the house and then kind of get upset because the house doesn't look good. And since the house doesn't look good, I don't want to be in the house. So she would just leave again and go get that dopamine of buying something else again. And then come home and try to hide what she just brought in the pile. And the husband explained that he felt as though everything came from her getting breast cancer and his mom and her mom passing away. He felt like after those things, it kind of brought this on with her. And he also blames himself because he didn't really challenge her about hoarding. He kind of, to the extent allow things to get to a breaking point to where now he's just exploding on her because he was letting so much go rather than express how he feels. So now they're getting in arguments, and when they're getting arguments and he's yelling at her, now she feels upset, and to get back at him, she'll go buy more things. So now it's a cycle of argument, buy things, argument, buy things. And at a certain point, she agreed to get everything clean. And she was a bit combative at first, like when the cleaners was there, but then at a certain point, she kind of started like working with them. She gave him a hard time for a moment, and then afterwards, she started allowing them to, clean the house and everything. And I think they stayed together. I believe they stayed together. I think. And then there is a older black couple, which is going to be our next couple. And this is another lady who had issues with hoarding as well. So her issues with hoarding, I don't know why I'm messing with it. I'm messing with it. It's okay. But her issues was she also lost somebody. So she lost her grandson. So her grandson passed away, and after that, they believed that she would use shopping to cope with that. And the husband, the last husband didn't really speak up. But this husband kind of enabled her behavior because he would give her, he was making good money. He was giving her like 1,000, 5,000, like either every time she asked for it or every week or so, to the point where she would spend all this money, and he was spending all this time working, so he wasn't home as much. Like, he was in California working, but she went to Alabama to get out the city life. And then when he came home, he seen all this stuff because he kept giving her all this money, to the point where she spent over $112,000 from shopping, to where they're about to lose everything. Like, they went from being financially stable to on the limbs of losing their house and everything else. So now they're going broke, and they gotta work again, and you're seeing the effects of hoarding, because there's other things that's coming. Like, you gotta buy these things, you're shopping and getting these things. And she was a bit combative about getting rid of things. When the cleaning crew came, she was kind of fighting the process, and being a bit emotionally abusive to like the husband and the kids. To the point where they didn't really want to put up with her, deal with her. So those things caused a decent amount of conflict. And they were still able to clean everything and work through everything. I think they stayed together. I believe this couple stayed together as well. I feel like. But they definitely, she might have went back to hoarding. I don't know. But granted, I don't think she has the money to be hoarding. So, I'm 100% positive. Sometimes I don't know, it misses me. It's a bunch of words, and I'll be missing some of the words for the ending. And we have our last couple. Our last couple is pretty interesting. So I saved them for last because they had the most interesting story that I kind of wanted to go over their dynamics as well. And this is the wife. So the first one, we have one husband that was hoarding a bunch of stuff. But this is the wife that hoarded. So there's an older black couple. They lived in the U.S. as well. The husband tried. The husband eventually started getting tired of living like this and living with all this stuff. And I think he was vocal a bit from the beginning about that. However, the wife continued to hoard and would say that he never helps her and doesn't feel, at times she doesn't feel like putting things away or getting rid of things. And the husband would get frustrated with her because he wants his family over and he doesn't want to be embarrassed about how the house looks, to the point where he kind of just boxed himself off in like a room, and I think he boxed off another room and just told her, keep out of these rooms because I want them to stay clean. And then she got real combative about that, to where she, got a hammer, bam, like broke it, like at the dog, like broke it to the room. And then they were getting into it, they're not attacking each other, but, they're arguing, and, she's threatening with the hammer, and, I think she had a knife too, so threatening him with that. So now he kind of feels a bit unsafe because she did that to him. So yeah, they were pretty wild. I think they were the wildest ones out of everybody. With them being that combative towards each other and volatile. So the workers had a lot to do. Like the psychologist person came and the organizer, and it was a lot of going back and forth with them. And, she was getting angry because she feels especially while the cleaners and stuff was there, because she felt like he blames everything on her and says that he doesn't listen to her. She says that, he doesn't listen to her at all. So that also causes problems as well. Her not feeling heard, her not feeling understood, and, taking all the blame. And the family came over to help as well. So they're feeling kind of down and about what's happening with them, and, how bad the house got, to where, one of them was like, I don't want to take the wife shopping anymore because they don't want the house to end up like that. And during the time when the cleaners was there, the husband didn't help clean, and then when he came out, he was a bit combative and defensive. He was like, he feels like she's just going to go back to her old ways. Like, we're going to get rid of these things, but then you're going to do it again. And so now they're clashing, and he's saying that he doesn't want to be around her because he mistreats, because he's worried about her threatening or attacking him or trying to attack him. So the wife was pretty upset with that, and she through the show you kind of see that she has a hard time letting things go, because the husband's sister came over to help as well, and she was kind of, they got into it, the wife and her got into it, because she felt as though the sister said one time that she doesn't want to help. She offered to help before, but I guess it's one time she, didn't want to help them clean or something like that, to that extent. And, the wife kind of held that over her head, and was hard to let that go. So if she's struggling with letting that go, you can only imagine how it's going with their relationship, with her and her husband's relationship, with her having that hard time. However, some things I don't want to put everything on her, because the husband was combative. The husband didn't help at all. And the husband was also doing things. So I feel like what he did affected her, and what he didn't do affected her as well. Because she feels as though if the cleaners and everything's coming and he asks for all this, why are you not here? Why are you not here being supportive? Why is everybody else here but you? Why are you not part of the process? And she does have a point. She has a point about that. And you start to see his behavior come out as well. Like, okay, yeah, he needs to be supportive. He needs to be more understanding towards her and not, hard on her. We get the frustration, because there is frustration with this person having the disorder. But maybe if he would have been more supportive, maybe with her, maybe it wouldn't have got to that extent. Maybe. Because she just felt, it seems like to me, she felt unloved, she felt a bit unwanted. And she was talking about on the show about divorcing. But they made it towards the end, and they was able to get the house all clean, and everybody was smiling and happy towards the end. However, I do remember with their story that he did end up moving out, because I think she was hoarding again, and she went in a senior living home. However, they were still married. So they're married, but they're just not living together to an extent. So you're seeing that some of the couples, some of the partners were either enabling, some of the partners were either didn't express what they felt until they blew up, and some were combative, which made the situation a bit worse for the person with disorder. So there's benefits of being supportive. There's benefits of being helpful. Sometimes you can be helpful and supportive and things still get out of hand. We're not going to say that this is all being supportive is just going to fix everything, because there's multiple support systems that needs to be in place to help this family member. There needs to be therapy. There needs to be maybe an organizer, somebody that they allow to help them organize without them being combative. And through these things, through all this support, maybe that person wouldn't get to that point. So these are just certain things to keep in mind. And it comes from somewhere. And we're seeing that them hoarding things also are coming from different things that affected them, or maybe traumatized them, or triggered them. So these are just certain things to keep in mind. And I will do it for this episode for tonight. So definitely we're going to be supporting a Black-owned business, and it's the Unforgiving Scruff. It's a Black comic book, so I'll definitely put their information in the description below. I'm a clinical social worker for the state of Maryland. I'll put my information in the description as well, because I provide individual, couples, and family therapy. And of course, the person who does the music, I'll put his information in as well. And the person who does the art for my avatar, I'll put everything in for him too. So definitely check them out and support them as well. And this will conclude this episode for tonight. So definitely thanks for watching, and y'all definitely have a good rest of the night and a good rest of the week.